still able to talk about it. How did you have the courage to do that?
Well, obviously, I always talked a great deal, but to be serious, I will tell you, my husband spoke fluent German, and this is how we communicated, of course, with each other when we met, and also the book that we wrote together, which is the book I love most. It's called, you know, The Hours After. Anyway, when we were married in Paris, my husband had to come back because I could not get out of Europe, and so when he got discharged from the army, he came back, and we were married in Paris, and I came with him. And as soon as we came on American soil, he said to me, "I'm never going to talk German to you again. You can talk German to me, I'll answer you in English," he said, "and one day you'll be glad about it." I said, "How can you say that? I mean, you're the only person I can talk to." And actually, this was the most incredible and most healing thing, because I found that when I went to Amsterdam, I had the privilege of speaking at Anne Frank's home, and I was asked the same question. And what I realized then is, do I have a couple minutes to talk about it? Okay. What I realized is this. I talked to other people there, and there's a woman very well known in Amsterdam. Her name is Frida Menko. She speaks many, many languages and broadcasts all over Europe. And she asked me in English if I would do a program with her, which was being broadcast there into London. We did it in English, no problem. And then she said to me, "Would you do it in German? I also broadcast to Germany and Belgium." And I said, "Oh my God, no. I mean, how could I speak on the radio? No, Hitler and Goebbels and all those people spoke on the radio. How I can't do it." And so she said, well, she was very persuasive. She said, "I think you should talk in this language and this and that and so on." So she says, "You know what? We will do it on tape, not live." So I said, okay. She started the tape, and I started speaking in German. And I went completely what? You know, I can control myself fairly well. I couldn't go on. And this is when I realized that I was in the place where the Nazis had been, you know, the story of Anne Frank and everything. I was speaking the language, I was speaking in German. I couldn't handle it. I think language is a very powerful evoker of emotions. When I speak about it in English, I mean, it's not terribly easy, but it is not as difficult as you might think it is for me. Because nothing happened to me in English. No one that I knew here, I knew from before. Nothing in America reminds me of Germany. And I think that this is why most survivors have been unable to talk about it. You see, most survivors married survivors. And they continued speaking in the language, be it German or Polish or Yiddish or what have you. They only started talking about it to their grandchildren in English. My husband made me, and I wrote my first book in English. Because, you know, I had to, and I really knew nobody there. I was one of the first survivors that came over because I came as the wife of an American. So, I also then felt the obligation to talk about what happened. You see, I was here in 1946. I came back to this country in 1946. Most people, survivors, didn't come till much later. They had to wait for visas and quotas. I didn't need it because I came as the wife of an American. And of course, I felt my friends were still there. They had no place to go, you know. And of course, later with the establishment of State of Israel, they could go. But it was horrible to be staying there amongst the people and the places where it all happened. And I felt it was my obligation to talk about it. And of course, with the fact that I learned English in a relatively short time, I felt that I need to talk about it. And then I wrote my first book, you know, which came out quite early considering everything. So it was very, very nice of the Livingston to mention it. And I was very, very fond of Sophie, and I know that her daughter, one of her daughters, they went to school together, they lived around the corner, and I know that my daughter Leslie is still very close with her daughter, who I believe is in Providence, Rhode Island, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you so much, and tell your aunt how delighted I am to hear such a personal endorsement.
And unfortunately, folks, it is 8:30, so we are going to have to go ahead and wrap things up this evening. But before we thank our wonderful and moving guest speaker this evening, there are just a few people that we would like to thank for making this evening possible. First, we'd like to thank the Penn Video Network and the IT support staff at the Law School at the University of Pennsylvania, all of the technical staff at all of our connected institutions, of course, our wonderful on-site audience here at the University of Pennsylvania, and all of you who connected for today, and our very large webcast audience who are watching non-interactively. And folks, with that, could you please help me in thanking Gerda Weissmann Klein, our speaker this evening.
Little trouble standing up.